Okay, well, now we come to the first of the David Yates directed Harry Potter movies, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And like I just said, I don't know why I felt the need to say it twice. I guess I just have an urge for redundancy tonight. But as I said before, this is the first of four Harry Potter movies directed by David Yates. Um, Once again switching directors, following that trend of switching directors, because we had Chris Columbus for two movies, then we had Alfonso Cuarón for one movie, then we had Mike Newell for one movie, and now we had David Yates to put his own spin on things. And to be honest, the Yates era Potter movies are probably, from a stylistic perspective, my least favorites. Um, but but that is not to say that they are bad by any stretch of the imagination. But I'll tackle them one at a time. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is probably one of the shorter films in the series, but honestly, it's one of the longer books in the series. And and yeah, it basically revolves around Harry Potter's fifth year at Hogwarts. It's basically he's uh, he's cast out of the circle of peers that he had before. I mean, he is almost entirely shunned by by a lot of former friends because no one wants to believe him. A everyone thinks he's crazy for everyone thinks he's crazy for saying that Voldemort is back, and B, the Minister of Magic, being consumed by fear at the very concept, is trying to turn the media and basically all of public eye against Harry because, like everyone else, the Minister just does not want to believe that Voldemort is back. But at the same time, the Order of the Phoenix, this secret society that's basically defended the Wizarding World, or tried to defend the Wizarding World against Voldemort's forces last time. They've kind of reformed, um, and they're trying to gather followers, as is Voldemort, for for basically the next big war. And they know Harry. They know Harry has some role to play. They just don't know what. And and yeah, this this actually went with a very interesting idea of Harry immediately right off the bat not nearly being held as in such high esteem. I mean, basically with all the other Harry Potter movies up to this point, he was. I mean, all of his classmates were basically saying, "You're Harry Potter. Oh, Harry, you're not. You're a nice guy." I mean, none of his classmates have really had a problem with Harry, or at least not for an extended period of time like this. Because, as I recall, in Chamber of Secrets, people thought that he was committing the murders, or he was committing the petrifications, but there was really no solid proof. There, there was there was the fourth movie where everyone thought he put his name into the Goblet of Fire, but once again, he completely pleaded innocence on that front. Here, he is saying of his own free will, Voldemort is back, and and there really is no getting around. There really is no getting around it. There's no one to defend him. There's no one to plead innocent for him. He is completely guilty of the horrible crime of saying that one of the most evil wizards imaginable is back. So I just found that interesting how this kind of possesses that theme of public opinions, of one feeling very helpless when public opinion is turned against them, one feeling very powerless. And to be fair, I thought they handled that well. I thought they handled the degradation of Harry's confidence pretty well. Let's see, the acting. The acting is still very good, although I don't really think the acting is quite as good on the part of some of the players. Or I take that back. I take that back because Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint are all still very good. Let's see. Ivana Lynch is added to the cast. Newcomer Ivana Lynch, who plays Luna Lovegood. And she was not quite who I pictured when I read the books and read about this character, Luna Lovegood. But at the same time, I really like the way that she played it, because basically Luna Lovegood is this really weird student. Everyone shuns her as well because they're kind of freaked out by her. I think she reads books upside down. she goes to feed these creatures called Thestrals, which are invisible to anyone who has seen death. Roll with it. Or invisible to everyone except people who have seen death. So of course Harry and Luna are the only ones within immediate proximity and with immediate access to these things who can actually see these creatures. So I like the fact that this movie plays up that Luna is basically kind of a kindred spirit, and if anything, I think they should have taken that plot line farther. Not necessarily going for a romantic interest. I'm not saying that, but I don't know. I think they should have devoted more time to Harry and Luna kind of building up a real genuine friendship. And what they have, it is there. I mean, you do sense a very genuine connection between these two characters, and a very likable connection. But my gripe is that I wish they had spent more time on that and less time on other things, like honestly a pretty simplistic plot, because the plot is not handled badly by any stretch of the imagination. It's just for a long while it does seem like the movie is spinning its wheels in terms of new developments when it comes to the whole subplot about the Wizarding World turning against Harry Potter. But with that said, the stuff where Harry's mind is not only is his confidence waning in the face of basically having no supporters outside his immediate friends, but I also like that he is slowly being psychologically destroyed by having this mental connection with Voldemort. And this results in, honestly, Daniel Radcliffe's best performance in the series thus far. Possibly period. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe really does a good job in carrying this movie. In large part due to the fact that Harry's opponents are a lot more psychological this time around. Let's see. Who else? Michael Gambon continues to slowly come into his own as Dumbledore. Although my point still stands that I think they make him a little too much like Gandalf. But I guess I can't be the only one who thinks that, because Lord of the Rings at this point has just become such an iconic series of films, and the character of Dumbledore, to the untrained, to the uninitiated, to those uninitiated with the source material, the character of Dumbledore could, at first glance, be seen as very similar to that of Gandalf. But it's those key differences that I think they somewhat lose sight of in trying to differentiate themselves from Harris's portrayal. Out of respect, and out of necessary respect, because, like I said, I'm glad they didn't try to imitate Richard Harris, and with that said, Michael Gambon still does give a very good performance as Dumbledore. It's just a little distracting to me how different it is personality-wise from Harris's portrayal, but also how it's kind of steering towards that Gandalf persona. Or maybe it could just be me, I don't know. Alan Rickman gets more time to shine this time around, seeing as this doesn't have to accommodate quite as many characters. So Alan Rickman gets more time to shine this time around, while Maggie Smith continues to be pushed into the background. Unfortunately, she still does a good job, but she is overshadowed, frankly, by Alan Rickman. I mean, Alan Rickman in the scenes that he gets, and you do get a little bit of his backstory this time around. He completely controls every scene he's in. I really like some of my favorite scenes are between his character and Daniel Radcliffe's character. Because beneath this animosity, you can really sense that each of them are trying to kind of figure the other out. And in large part, I think that has to do with the very good performances of both parties. Let's see what other players this time around. Gary Oldman gets a larger part this time around, and I mentioned some of my favorite scenes are with Alan Rickman. Well, even the scenes I like even more, I'm sorry to say, are the scenes between Daniel Radcliffe and Gary Oldman, because Gary Oldman essentially plays. Not only does he take sort of a surrogate father figure, and not only does it feel very natural, but also he provides some much needed compassion and much needed support for Harry in this time where he doesn't really have a lot of that. I mean, where he's continually mistrusted, and it doesn't really help that Dumbledore is trying to distance himself from Harry for reasons undisclosed until the end of the movie. But yeah, Gary Oldman is still very good. I really enjoyed all of his scenes, and once again, like the Luna Lovegood subplot, I think there should have been more scenes with Gary Oldman. But what can you do? I guess that's the way it falls. But honestly, well, I have to mention one other character. Natalia Tina joins the cast, and Natalia Tina these days, I cannot bring her up without making some sort of Game of Thrones joke, because she has become so prominent on Game of Thrones that I doubt many people. I think relatively few people even associate her with Harry Potter anymore, because she's just become such a popular character on Game of Thrones. And rightfully so. Natalia Tina is a charismatic actress, so yeah, I think that praise is well deserved. She plays Tonks in the movie, this very mischievous witch with her hair kind of works like a mood ring. I mean, it changes with her emotions. I can't really remember if that was in the book, but I don't know. Tina just adds that sense of playful mischief that I think makes the character of Tonks very distinct and more memorable than she could have been if put in the hands of a more generic actress. This is a character who could have easily just been pushed to the background and say like, "Oh, that's Tonks. Now forget about her. She's not integral to the story." I'm not saying she is integral, but she's made more memorable by Natalia Tina's performance than she would have been if put in the hands of a lesser actress. So props to her. But two casting choices that I don't like, and one of these kind of contradicts what I said before in my previous video. Helena Bonham Carter as Bellatrix Lestrange. Okay. Bellatrix Lestrange was a little off her rocker in the book. I admit that. But Carter just takes it way too far. She does not say a single line like a normal person would. She does not say a single line naturally. Everything is just so kooky and silly with her. And I mentioned before how Brendan Gleeson and David Tennant could kind of channel that craziness. But at the same time, they were better at channeling that craziness than I think Helena Bonham Carter is. She just goes for crazy just for the sake of being crazy. But also David Tennant and Brendan Gleeson actually said lines normally. They only, you could tell that they were capable of more than just being ooh over the top hamminess. Helena Bonham Carter, man, she is just so goofy in this. And I almost wonder if she decided on set, you know what, I'm going to try something and I'm going to see if the director calls me on it. And David Yates never called her on it, and she's like, oh good, I can just do this for all my scenes. I can just be just the craziest caricature of a person in all of my scenes. And I know I might be alienating a lot of people who really enjoy her performance. I'm not here to take away anyone's enjoyment of Helena Bonham Carter in these movies. I just could never be swept up. I could never enjoy her performance as much as I wanted to. I mean, this is a character who could have been a really distinctly menacing character, and every time I see Helena Bonham Carter, I can't tell if she's trying to be funny, if she's trying to be scary, and I don't think she succeeds at either. To the point where I almost have to wonder, did Tim Burton just rub off on her over the years? Because I don't remember her acting this goofy earlier in her career. And this may not be entirely her fault. Maybe this is just the way the character was written. Maybe it is the way the character was written. But based on her performance, I'm sensing a lot of ad-libbing here. I'm sensing a lot of her in the performance. I'm sensing that she put a lot of her own spin on the character. And I think it was the director's job to kind of tone that down, because this would kind of be like, I was watching an interview with Ricardo Montalban, and he was commenting on the direction of Nicholas Meyer when he was filming The Wrath of Khan. And he was using his hands as an analogy, and he was like, well, I don't want to play it safe. I want to play it with intensity. I want to be frightening. And Nicholas Meyer let me go up to here, because past here it gets ridiculous. Just up to here. And he would direct me, say like too much or too little. I'm sorry for my very terrible Ricardo Montalban impression, but that's basically it. I think there should have been a steadier hand at the direction. I think there should have been someone to tell her no. I think there should have been someone to tell her, you're going too far. Could you say that line, I don't know, with a little more normally? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just don't like Helena Bonham Carter in these movies. I don't. And the thing that contradicts the other casting choice that I didn't like, that kind of contradicts what I previously said, is Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort. And I know this is not because of the casting. I know this is not because of some miscast, because Ralph Fiennes did a good job as Voldemort in Goblet of Fire. I really liked him as Voldemort in Goblet of Fire, but here he just plays it way too dainty, way too kind of, oh yeah, oh yes. And this goes on throughout all of the Yates-directed Potter movies. I have to point to the director on this, because this is not quite how he played the character in Goblet of Fire. In Goblet of Fire, he was more intense and less frilly. Here he's softer and less intimidating. I have to point to director David Yates, and I don't hate David Yates. I really don't. He's a talented director. I mean, he's decent enough, but I have to wonder if these in my opinion poor acting decisions were partially because of him. I don't know. I just don't know. But with that said, the effects in this movie are still very good. This movie does move along a pretty brisk pace in compared to some of the past Potter movies. And I like the newer element of the psychological. I like the new psychological element that they threw in with Harry having this very painful mental connection with Voldemort. And like I said, the performances are still very strong. And one final casting decision that I wanted to comment on is Imelda Staunton as Professor Umbridge. I never liked this character to begin with because I think she just seemed like too much of a cardboard cutout. But the reason I didn't hate her as much as I did in the books, and I know you're meant to hate her, but the reason I could stomach her more in this movie than I could in the books is because of Imelda Staunton's performance. And I am by no means saying that the book is poorly written or anything, but there are some things you just have to change for the movie to make the character more watchable. And Imelda Staunton puts her own kind of snooty charm to it. This movie really has that feel of a polite British boarding school, as do all the Yates movies. So I think Imelda Staunton's performance complements that pretty well, or at least to a certain degree. You could argue that they may go a little too far with just how blind she is and with just how crazy she is up to the end, but yeah, I liked her okay. I liked her better than Helena Bonham Carter. But yeah, good movie. It just has some major flaws, and when I walked out of it the first time, I was like, okay, that was fine. That was decent. That was all right. I'm not disappointed, and at the same time, I'm not quite as blown away as I was. I'm not nearly as blown away as I was in Goblet of Fire, or in The Sorcerer's Stone, or The Philosopher's Stone. So, Potter fans, I think, will like it, and casual fans, I think, will be able to walk out of it saying, okay, that was fine. I don't really think it's one of the stronger Potter movies. I don't really think it's even. Honestly, I think it's the second weakest of the series, and I'll get to the first weakest. But yeah, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. It's a perfectly satisfying. It's a perfectly satisfactory, perfectly fine, perfectly good Harry Potter movie. I know that's not exactly a glowing recommendation, but it's not bad, and the fact that they got to Part 5 without having a single bad entry is pretty impressive. And like I said, if with them changing directors so much, it's good that they didn't get a bad director, because David Yates is not a bad director. He's a competent director who thankfully improves in the subsequent entry.